And we're live. It's our patron hangout for the month of March 2020. My goodness, what a year. And without, if you want to get on this, check us out at patreon.com/Clix. This is that day where we open up my little cold black heart to our patrons and to Super Chat. So if you're happy to be watching live and you want to throw us a dollar or more on the Super Chat, we will happily answer I will happily answer your questions, and give you the time of day, because that's what today is for opening our hearts to those who open up their wallets to us. This is number 51. We've been doing this for a while. So I know Mike will be joining us later. He's usually here for the patron hangout. Also want to apologize for the delay. YouTube delays are massive, and I just realized that you got to see me setting this up before I started things. So what a day I'm having. And yeah, so I said Patreon. I've said this is a patron hangout. I guess it's time to open up the floor. I'm gonna let Dave start, and then we have a couple in the patron Discord, which you get access to if you are a patron as well. But Dave, the floor is yours, sir.
So, did you see Justice Lord's Flash?
Is he in Scott Porter's video today?
Yes, I think it was today.
Then I did not see him, but odds
Well,
are there is something on the rumors thread. So give me a second to take a look.
Okay.
Because I have to take a look. Just give me a second here. I gotta mute and do this. Sorry about that. Fatherhood has caught me off guard.
You're supposed to know when that's coming.
I am supposed to know when that's coming, and Justice Lords robot, 4 clicks, 45 points, created by Brainiac. Once per turn, when an opposing character heal the Flash 1 click. Gross. This is the part where you kill me, right? Stop. Super sensitive. Oh, gross. 19 defense for 45 points on just a rare. Not bad. Not breaking.
Well, consider it with the Justice Lord's ability to do a pen and then heal a character.
There is a Justice Lord's ability, I'm guessing, then, that they haven't listed on the rumor thread?
Should have been there.
Give me a second, if I can see if anybody else has it. Justice
now
Lords.
I'm confused.
Where'd you go? They're all rare, right? This is why I don't usually rely on the rumors thread 100%, because it's not fully filled out sometimes, or there's just massive details missing. One of them is super rare, right?
Just a second.
Okay, we got Shining Knight. The Flash is Justice Lord. This is riveting, I'm sure, for anybody who's watching.
My apologies.
It's not your fault. You don't keep this up to date. Here we go. Justice Lords. When X deals damage to an opposing character with an attack, after resolution, deal that character 1 unavoidable damage if they're not KO'd. Immediately heal it 1 click. So kind of like the Grim Reaper from Undead.
Yeah. Now the question is, with that Flash and other Justice Lords, Flash potentially healing 1 per turn, I don't know, at 4 clicks and a stop click, is it even worth it then?
4 clicks, a stop click, the ability to heal, and then the ability to possibly kill a guy a click beforehand. I see no problems with him. Is it once for all characters with this? Is this? Jesus, it's one specifically. They deal that damage, right?
But any Justice Lord hits, they take a damage, they heal, Flash heals.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay.
That's actually, for 45 points, that's really good. Now that you mention it and put it that way, on the stop click too, on a team of, even if he's the only Justice Lord that you're packing, that's cool. I like him a lot. This is my first time actually looking. I haven't had a chance to keep up with Scott's videos, unfortunately.
They have been as good as usual.
Bad fan.
That, hey, it's a day later and the cup's at the same level.
Yeah.
Nothing moved an inch.
My sharing is oh, it's up. Guys, look at this. Somebody tell me something. I usually rely on Jay for this kind of information. But yeah, like the Flash on his own seems good. That ability, we all looked at it with the Grim Reaper, and because the Grim Reaper triggered off like any monster doing the damage, we looked at that and said, how do we make this work without having to spend as many points as we got to spend on a Grim Reaper? And this one, it's like because it's specifically me as this Justice Lord character doing this. This is kind of what we want. Is just that extra check on a character. We're not putting a massive investment on something we're not actively using. In this case, we're more or less using this Flash. I don't know about the other Justice Lords. I haven't given them a good hard look, but the Martian Manhunter looked. I mean, not. It didn't look offensive, but it didn't look great either. I got to check what his like special powers were though, because there was some special like damage, defense, or attack. Sorry, attack and defense powers. I'm just like that was at a brief like up look glance. So, God, I can't navigate this thing right now. Where is everybody? There he is. Nope, that's not the one. He was a super rare. That's why I'm not finding it. Here he is. This is special movement and defense, where it's like flurry, stealth, giant reach 3, phasing is free, but can't move more than 4 squares. That's solid. Regen and super senses for 4 clicks. That includes some shape change. Yeah, he's not bad for 90 points. I have to see how all of them work out, but I have a distinct feeling where I look at the Wonder Woman saying, yeah, here's our problem. And it's I'm going to use charge and super strength type character. Don't get me wrong. Those characters are fine as characters. When I look in the world of competitive play, I tend to overlook them just because as they are and the points we end up having to invest in them, not super excited. But also, like, when I look at it in the non-competitive world as well, I'm kind of cool with it and I like it. I would throw that on a Justice Lord's team and I would play this Justice Lord's team. And just on those instances where it's like, oh, they have only 3 clicks left. I'm going to do my damage and now I'm going to Justice Lord do that extra damage. Past that stop click that, something might have, I'm not going to worry. So something like, let's say as an example, Unimind, I believe, would hit the KO click. And then be like, all right, well, now we got to trigger your KO effects because guess what? Here we are, and this is where it's supposed to go. So overall, I'm all in on that effect, and I would like to see the Flash, especially just because robot's a good keyword, and he's such a small investment, just to see what kind of work we can get done with him. Overall, not a bad thing per se. All right. I'm going to pop in the Discord for a second because Michael, who's coming, has some questions. And I'm going to address his first one. Can you gauge how much enthusiasm your area has for the new Justice League set? Okay, so in my area of HeroClix players, being Dollies, we have a smallish crowd. But this smallish crowd is generally just enthusiastic about everything. And that also includes, you guys have seen him on Move and Attack Aiden. And Aiden really likes the Justice League Unlimited stuff. And he's probably just most excited for the Martian Manhunter because he was very angry that Batman the Animated Series inclusion of Justice League Unlimited characters didn't include the Martian Manhunter. So I think he's already one of the happiest campers to see that he exists. Aiden is the type of guy who will see Martian Manhunter and he is content. He really likes the character himself. And, it doesn't matter if it's a good or a bad version. It's just as long as he's got a version to play with, he's content. So overall, I'm happy to see that Martian Manhunter is repped properly in the set. For Aiden's sake, for my own sake, Justice League Unlimited is a cool series. I watched it a little bit. It's not something that was like one of the most mind-blowing series of my life, but at the same time, it was, I watched it briefly on some DVDs. I liked what I saw. It included the Demon, who's one of my favorite DC characters, the guy who talks in rhymes. So I really like that. Unfortunately, Demon, I don't think is in the set. He might be. I don't remember offhand. I don't. I have to look at
No, no Etrigan.
no Etrigan. That's fine.
No.
But overall, it's cool to see that they're going forward with this animated series, and just because so many of these animated series do make up a good portion of our pop culture consumption, and it does extend beyond the pages of the comic books and gives the guys making these sets a little bit of time to let the comic books come up with some new ideas and run with those. I mean, we the Infinity Warps was something that was made up as a conversation on the Metal Lab, and that's something that could be neat to see in a future set as its own chase set and whatever's going on there. So, to answer the question directly, the anticipation's high, but the anticipation's always high for a HeroClix set with us. So we're kind of a rough group to gauge that on. So, yeah. All right. Back to you, Dave.
We have one local guy who's just, I don't like DC. But other than that, I'd say the enthusiasm here is at least normal. I'm very excited because I did love the series.
Yeah.
Watched a lot of it. And have you seen the question yet? He's discount for Lane.
I did see the question, and I have no problem with that being made available in a lower rarity. And it is a little bit more limited in the fact that you are limited by his range and line of fire, if I remember correctly. So it's a less broken, more fair version of Trelane or Q.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with a less broken, more fair version of a way broken, overpowered power. And the overpoweredness comes from the new ruling on the die. I think is a big problem, and I feel like it needs to go back to where it was when we had Mr. Mix's Pitlick, where if you change my die, I can re-roll it thereafter. I think that needs to come back. I might be the only guy who thinks that. What's that?
I would not object.
Yeah, just because it's still strong with that limitation. Mix's Pitlick was strong the way it was too. So I don't know. I just feel he is. The question is what I would define as a fine version of this, but at the same time, dice replacement keeps showing up, and it's getting a little concerning, to say the least. On the plus side, the question does come in a keyword that question. There he is Justice League Detective Martial Artist Reporter. So none of those keywords are really super represented with those things right now. And that I think is one of the keys to what makes them a little bit more exciting. Beginning of your turn, roll, and his is a power, so remove an action token from another character with just the power. If there's no d6 on this card, roll d6. Whenever a character within 6 squares of the line of fire. So it's even a hard range of 6, not the question's range, which is even better. So I can find a way to give the question 10 range somehow. Let's say a golden age with a sniper rifle, and it's still going to be limited to 6 range. So that's cool. I'm cool with the question for a number of reasons, and I think my only concern would be, what does the world with a non-keyword team that could include the question, Q, and Trelane in the same team, is that strong with the 200 points you have to work with after that? And all those sorts of questions kind of run through my head. But I think he's fine. I think he's cool. I think it makes detective something you could look at. What's that?
You're saying the question raises questions?
The question raises questions, yes, and it raises questions to question the detective question, or can martial artists come back with this? I think the current reign of martial artists is not as good as it was back in Web of Spider-Man, or is there going to be that surprise reporter team that comes out of nowhere? Who knows? The
world needs to know.
The world does need to know. He doesn't have a world needs to know question. What the hell? Billy Batson has it. I've used it. as Tom and Mike can attest to. Tom and Mike both had to deal with it. Trying to remember now.
Oh, Billy Batson gives Thanos nightmares.
Was that?
Billy Batson has given Thanos nightmares in his time.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember getting a chance to use that power and people going, "Wait, Billy Batson does something more than perplex? What are you doing with him?" Ugh. So yeah, I like the question just because. Okay, to just flat out say it, I like the question because I want to make a detective team someday, and he gives me one of those things that Detective lacks, which is something that Cosmic has. So that's always that question you ask is like, how can I compete with the Cosmic team? Does it have the same tools or tools similar enough to compete on this level? It adds a tool, but it might not be enough of one. So then I have to kind of look deeper into what Detective has. I'm not going to look into it like right now. I know it's a keyword I generally try to click on when I do my kind of creativeness in HC Realms. One of the big problems, of course, is that there is no detective wrestlers right now. So, and I think a lot of my teams lately, especially, have started with some form of wrestler lately. So it's kind of the direction I poke myself in right now. I'm just not sure what I was looking for something a second ago, and now I don't remember what it was I was looking for. Oh, I remember what I was looking for. It was the chat window. There it is. Just in case I get a super chat. So yeah. Next up in the Discord. For a piece so meta, why isn't the secondary market price for Nimrod higher? It's availability is the word to use in this case. Actually just pulled up on Troll and Toad. He's $6 for an uncommon colossal. So then we have to kind of compare that against the other X-Men animated series colossals that are also uncommon. So give me a second to adjust my set here. Of course, we're gonna have to just go through it the hard way, I guess. So like if you compare that to Phoenix, who's about 650, so he's lower than Phoenix, higher than the Sentinel Squad 1, which is about 350. Higher than the Orange Proteus, which is 275. That's a rare, so that's not on the same. The other Proteus, that being. I mean, he's higher than Sasquatch, so he's on the high side of the uncommon. But when we say a figure is priced high, let's look at, say, a common. And just could be any old common. Like let's just say, for as an example, Callisto. Callisto is 47 cents. Now, if a common somehow gets above 47 cents, that is actually a high-priced common, right? So, if somehow somebody has... This is not going to happen, but somehow somebody has found a way to break Callisto, and Callisto must be played on every team now. Callisto will jump from 47 cents to $5. So Callisto will not be $100. She is common. There are too many of them out there, and that becomes the answer to why is Nimrod not that expensive. Nimrod is only rated as an uncommon X-Men Colossal. So there is one Colossal per pack, and there's a high chance of you getting a Nimrod in your brick, let's say. Like, you could get one or two in a case, or three or four in a case. Pretty, you shouldn't be shocked if such a thing happens. So as a result, because Nimrod is just, oops, here he is, and almost everybody has one, his price shouldn't get particularly high. $6 for an uncommon Colossal versus the $350 that a good portion of them are, as I am kind of still peeking my way through. Green Dragon Puff is $250, so it skews high on its similar rarity. It's not a high-priced super uber meta figure, because it's legal in the Pauper format, and things that are in the Pauper format should never skyrocket beyond like $5 or $6 because they are low. They're low on the rarity chart, which means they are frequent. So to kind of go back and directly answer the question, the reason Nimrod isn't higher is because he's easy to acquire through the purchase of packs. If he was hard to acquire through the purchase of packs, his price would go up. But because he is acquirable but good, he sits at about $6. And that's just Troll and Toad price. I mean, I haven't checked eBay prices or anything like that. I could check Cool Stuff Inc. very briefly, because Cool Stuff and Troll and Toad generally within $1 or $2 of each other. The Cool Stuff often comes up the winner lately for me. Thanks for the Iceman, guys. He's over there. If I look up a Nimrod on Cool Stuff Inc., just check the price quickly. Yeah, he's $5 there. So $5-6 is what you're looking to spend on a Nimrod. And that's, like I said, that's high for an uncommon Colossal in X-Men. But he's never going to hit the heights that would make him a high-priced figure. I think that's the best way to answer that question. So there was a correlation with rarity to pricing, and there's only so high certain rarities can hit. I mean, I think I've seen at one point $10 commons, and we have seen a past where there is a Fast Forces with a $50 character. We're looking at you, Chaos War. In fact, Chaos War starter sets or Fast Forces at one point on the market were going for $50, and you were really buying it for the Scarlet Witch in that pack. And that was the only place you could get that single base Scarlet Witch. And as a result, that skewed things particularly high. And that was also on a limited print. And as a result, there weren't that many of them out there. Like, there was one Scarlet Witch for every Fast Forces that was printed, versus if it was a common in a pack, there could be thousands of packs printed and hundreds of we'll say hundreds of thousands of packs out there, and thousands of packs that have that Scarlet Witch in it, if that was the case. Or in this case, there's hundreds of packs with the Nimrod in it. So ultimately, rarity does control certain degrees of price. And a common, uncommon pack pullable figure will only hit certain heights. And then rares and higher, because there's only one of each per pack at most, you will skew higher. Uncommons tend to skew one or two per pack. And then the uncommon, because of the correlation and the way WizKids kind of sets up the bricks, and the fact that you'll get X number of super rares of the Colossals when they do the Colossal or the current pack setup for X-Men. When they do that pack setup, there's a certain number of them that will be uncommon in the brick, and that's the thing. The rarity you look at in a pack is its rarity, but when you look at the one Colossal per pack setup, the rarity then becomes the brick. So a brick is like 2 packs of Colossals. Those 2 packs of Colossals will maybe come with 1 rare in each. So like 5 for every 5 packs, you'll probably find 1 rare or 1 super rare. That's why those skew very high. But the uncommons, there's not that many of them. There's also plenty of them printed, and as a result, those skew those prices lower. Now, to go back to the other Sentinel in that, because I just realized that Sentinel is going to probably be that one that people mentioned in the comments or something like that. As a general rule, if that figure then is in high demand because a single player does need multiples of them, that will take that price back up. I love talking about this stuff sometimes, and I find I talk about it a lot too often and never know when I'm repeating myself, but I think across multiple shows it's okay. This question's come up a lot. I gotta just remember where that Sentinel is. God, I really need to get a little bit more RAM in this computer. When I try to multitask, it gets really hard to do. Even just this, and I like to use Google Chrome, which just takes all of your resources. And Sentinels are on the last page of this, of course. I feel like I've been saying this, and okay. So thanks, Cool Stuff. You didn't have that Sentinel. You guys are real help there. Oh, anyway, the Sentinel will be that example that makes me look foolish. And that's because me as a player, I have 11 of them. And I have acquired 11 of them. And even though they are uncommon, I need a lot of them, which means a lot of them are getting taken out of the world. So my 11 that are sitting up in my room aren't available in the world. And that's why that one skews up to 14, 15 bucks a pop. And it's not because of its rarity or its power. It's because the suckers that are buying them are just buying so damn many of them that they're just that you can't keep them on hand. And as a result, they can increase the price because the demand is up because the supply goes low. So that is another thing that can skew the price high. I just had to cover that because somebody out there is going to be like, well, the Sentinel from that set is going for like 15 bucks. Like, yeah, I know. I'm part of the problem. I'm a massive part of the problem.
Kid, right. You want to buy some Borg?
What's that?
You want to buy some Borg?
We'll talk
another
after the show.
Another example, though.
But yeah, the Borg is another example of, like, it's not necessarily good, but whoever wants them wants lots of them. And as a result, there's not that many available after they're all gone. It's like, what do I do to get them? Well, you got to find somebody who's got them. And whoever's got them realizes that you want them and is willing to charge you. And if you're not willing to buy them, well, then you don't want them that bad. But if you do want them that bad and don't have the money, it's such a vicious cycle. Just actually, while we're having that conversation, I want to see what those things have skewed to. Because I'm pretty sure they skewed high as well. Well, these Borg search parties alone go for $4. Cool Stuff Inc. doesn't have any of the rest of them in stock. Thanks, guys. So, yeah, as you can imagine, things can go nuts when people are demanding things in high numbers. And that's another thing.
Drones are $10 on eBay.
What's that?
Drones are $10 on eBay.
Well, I'm not looking that up again. And Borg are neat, don't get me wrong. Not $10 neat to me.
Now, speaking of Nimrod,
yep,
I was enamored of him for several weeks, and I question if he's all that meta. It just takes one bloody Asgardian Storm call-in, which of course can be said about many characters. But yeah, Nimrod's weakness is Pulse Wave, and there's a lot of Pulse Wave on people's teams these days.
Well, yeah, the new Magneto has Pulse Wave, the double base one, or the 2x2 base one. He has Pulse Wave. Storm has Pulse Wave, and these characters aren't hard to get out. So, I mean, now Nimrod is metagame to the Pauper format. He actually served me fairly well. I think I only went 3-1 in the Pauper states that year, and the one I lost to where did I go? I don't remember my record now. No, it was 3-1. And oddly enough, the one I lost was the last round, which, I was up against the highest pointed guy. I scored 0 points, and that took me to like 5th place. I was so angry because they did a top 4. Nothing feels worse than going 3-1 and missing the cut. And I think it was PJ said it best. Taking one loss should never get you out of the cut. It never should. All right. I'm done schmoozing about that. Anything else you wanted to cover, Dave? Well, we got you.
Well, we can talk about the big issue of the rumors of IDs all being rotated out. Have we talked that to death yet?
I know we've covered it on the Metal Lab, and I am of two minds of it. The one mind is I have all these figures, and look at how many figures I get to bring to a tournament. That felt good. But now, at the same time, the game is just, all right, turn 1, your ID card guy is going to attack. He's going to go away. I'm not going to be able to colossal retaliate. I call in my ID card guy. I make my attack. You're not going to be able to colossal retaliate because I do this. Or even worse, if it's me, I missed my attack. All right, cool. This feels really good right now. And, all right, are we out of ID cards? Now can we play Heroclix? That's been the state of the game. And I'm not a fan of that particular style of Heroclix anymore. Just because, I feel like we're not playing with what we have on, what we're putting on the map anymore. Again, we're back to that state. So if they're all gone, I'm okay with it. But at the same time, I do like to have a sideline, so I am going to be happy to see my super friends and super not so friendly friends. I'm gonna love to see Trouble Alert and Causing Troubles all over the place. That's gonna be neat. It's gonna be neat to see what they do with more sideline active abilities. Um, and I still think the sideline's going to be full. And there's going to be a lot of things we're going to be doing with the sideline. But the game isn't going to be, there's going to be less activeness to that sideline, if that makes any degree of sense. So, like, where I am picking and choosing what's happening, there's going to be a little less control over that, especially in a world with Trouble Alert and Causing Trouble, where I have to get the critical miss or critical hit or make an X number of misses or X number of hits in order to get these guys on the board. So I think that level of control is good, and the fact that there's a lot of limitations on the sideline. In addition to those, if you are planning on bringing back those shifting focuses, is cool. The problem I do, of course, have is Colossal Retaliation gets to run rampant again. And when it first showed up, I was one of the big guys who was guilty of using it a lot, to the point where people had to counter me. And I understood that. And to a certain degree, I just watched the torment in people's faces. But of course, Colossal Retaliation came out in the same era that ID cards showed up. And then the idea of, oh, I can just poof this guy off the table. And I would hesitate and go, I can't do anything about that. Well played, sir. Kind of hit me. So it's 2.5, one of the others, I like to say. I'm all for saying goodbye to them for a bit. I wouldn't mind if they do bring something similar back, control it somehow significantly. Maybe even like at first when we saw X-Men, we looked at it and went, "Can these really be that good?" And then they just turned out to be great because it was what I like to call the Jakeem Thunder effect. Zombie Super Scroll was over here, and Jakeem Thunder was over here. And a lot of people were like, Jakeem Thunder is not that good. He's not as good as Zombie Super Scroll. And I felt like myself and somebody else was screaming, yes, but this doesn't exist in 2 weeks. So what happens when this is gone and this is the not as good as, but still good situation? And that's what ended up happening is Jakeem Thunder ended up just being like, I run this stuff for a bit. And the Zombie Super Scroll was long gone and nowhere to be seen, and nobody cared about him anymore. No longer a threat, as it were, because it wasn't a part of the game. So, that said, when ID cards are gone, what is the thing that they're hopefully when they create the thing that isn't as good, it's even worse. So it's like a not a must play. But at the same time, I would prefer to just a limited sideline active effect of some sort if they do want us to keep using the sideline as that neat thing. I know I'm one of the biggest proponents of the RKO out of nowhere being a sideline active ability. And then as a result, just that individual Randy Orton will be like, I'm going to be the one that does this thing. And that gives WizKids significantly more control and more design space. Because now, if you think about it, they made the Wolverine ID card, which means they have to consider the Wolverine. They should consider the Wolverine ID card for every Wolverine they make from here on in. Same with Cyclops. So the long and the short of it is I would like them to have wide open space to design this friggin' game and allow us to a certain degree to play it the way we want to play it without too much coming from the side. Now, to kind of add to this nonsense, as it were, I like tricks as well, and I like complexity. A strictly on the board game is good. A strictly off the board game is is its own type of good. But at the same time, the game will be rough for a little bit because when things like these little tricks are not available to us, massive tent poles take over for a brief amount of time. I'm not going to say the game will be dominated, but right now, once we are free of ID cards, let's say, we have Captain Marvel, to a lesser extent Thor, Ultron, all out there on the horizon going, hi guys, remember us? Now they can almost attack with impunity. They'll still have to deal with the idea of a lot of colossal retaliation for the most part, but at the same time, colossal retaliation can be mitigated in its own way. So it is the ebbs and flows of the metagame. I am looking forward to not having to specifically play or account for like 5 extra points for every figure I'm playing, or 3 extra points for that matter on every figure I'm playing. Or consider what they can call in or what I'm putting on my sideline for that call in. Like that idea being gone, I'm perfectly okay with. And being able to play the game on the board again is going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be interesting to see if the WWE actually kind of comes out there and goes, "Hey, you can't shoot us for a bit. Let's play some HeroClix for in the middle of the table somewhere." I don't know. There's so much to be said, and but like at the same time, everything I am saying can quickly be undone by some new gimmick mechanic that will come out in a set in the future. So, I am of 1,000 brains of it, and my game design brain hits me every so often. Just goes, okay, let's talk around circles and say absolutely nothing at the same time. All right, Michael has another one here. With video game cons and competitive tournaments getting canceled, are people in your area talking about cutting down or canceling Clix tournaments because of the current thing that is apparently causing videos to get demonetized? To date this video, we're in the middle of a pandemic. But it's an area situation. Okay, so HeroClix specifically, let's talk about what's getting canceled and why they're getting canceled. And then let's talk about HeroClix and the unfortunate reality of how big we like to think this game is and how small it actually is. So if you think about what has been canceled, these video game tournaments are, oh, get out of my face, Origin. Nobody asked you. EA, get out of my face. Origin just opened up on my computer. So video games, like things like E3, San Diego Comic-Con, and competitive game tournaments. And I want to point out specifically as well the Pokemon card game. Now, the Pokemon card game canceled their tournament in Europe, the UK specifically. Any number of reasons could be a factor, but of course the big factor is health concerns. And of course the UK is, it is its own distance, but not an unreasonable distance. Like I think a train ride away from Italy. I just actually map distance UK to Italy. So I get the distance so that I'm not completely. So it's like a 24-hour drive. So 1,500 miles. I don't know where in the UK it was. So there will be ferries. There'll be trains that are available. But that kind of travel, people make that kind of travel across North America. Especially for Pokemon. Pokemon is an internet. We locally are Store Dollies. They run Pokemon on a regular basis. They have a very high level player who traveled from here in Ontario to Australia recently for the Oceanic Regional. Regional? I don't know what big tournament in Australia. He went to Australia of all things. People travel for this game, and they travel from all over the place. So, Italy. Big has its own group of people. The UK is not excessively unattainable to get to from places where the health concerns are coming from. And the game is played on such a high international level that people come from significantly more places than we like to think. We'll go back to game conventions. E3 is looking to be not going to happen. I don't think it's necessarily on the ice yet, but the health concerns from that is super international. Japan, China, North America, South America. People come from everywhere to go to E3 to go see what's going on. And as a result, that kind of travel, that kind of number of people from a different number of places will cause some level of concern. So your local HeroClix tournament, depending on where you are, should be fine. Because if you have, like, say, a dozen to 50 people, if you have a local tournament scene, first of all, 50 people at HeroClix, I want your venue. But if you have, your regular, like, 12 to 20 people, we'll say, there should be very limited concern unless your area is an at-risk area. If you're coming from northern Italy or Wuhan, China, then yeah, you should probably not be running HeroClix tournaments for a little bit. But if you're Southern Ontario, where we've had maybe a couple cases show up, mostly from people who traveled. If you have recently traveled and you think you are at risk, stay home. I don't feel like we need to cancel tournaments yet. We're not that state. I went to Chicago for a wrestling event. Thousands of people were there. I don't think it was necessary to cancel the event. I think maybe two instances of sickness showed up before we got there. It's not on that level yet, and I don't think we have that much to worry about, to be honest. If you know somebody who's traveling that far out, double check. It's like, hey, have you been to any of those places, or do you think you've been near anybody from those places? I have a distinct feeling I've been nowhere near anybody from those places. So, all things considered, I don't think we're at that point right now where we need to be canceling HeroClix tournaments. And I don't even think I would cancel HeroClix Worlds, to be honest. I think there's a few players that show up from South America, a few that show up from the UK, Europe, a few that maybe show up from Australia. And a couple players even from Italy. Like, I don't think we're at those numbers. I honestly don't. And I don't think we're at that point of a problem yet. And I don't think any of our, when we have this conversation between us, I don't think anybody I'm talking to specifically necessarily in an at-risk locale. If you feel you are, that's when you have to have that conversation with your players. But at the same time, a lot of these health organizations are saying, wash your damn hands. And you know what? You should be doing that when you go to the washroom, when you go and eat, wherever you go. 30 seconds, some hotter than warm water, and some soap, and you're mostly fine. Keep your hands away from your face. I mean, this is not as big a deal as I think it's getting blown out of proportion, to be honest. Yes, it's a super contagious disease. A lot of people have gotten it. I'm not going to downplay that part, but I don't think we're at that level yet where we have to start shutting down HeroClix tournaments because some of us might get a nasty cough for a week. I don't think it's at that state. I don't think we should have to worry about that for HeroClix, to be honest. So, yeah, nothing in my area is shutting down. A lot of places just put out... This happened with SARS, where... and SARS was actually... It was at epidemic levels in Ontario, or scare levels in Ontario, where we are. And we're fine. All that really happened is buildings started putting out those hand sanitizer dispensers, and even those are overkill in a lot of cases. Like, you should wash your hands before you use those in the first place anyway, and they put those at the door. Like, if you're really worried, just be careful what you do. So long and the short of it, I don't think a lot of things are going, unless there's a massive concern for international players. I understand Magic the Gathering is more likely to shut down more things, say, than HeroClix, just because of how international and how must travel that game can be for certain players, especially when you can get to the high level pro levels of that game. When you get the high level competitive of this game, it's still just, it's not a must do. None of us have to go to Worlds to make bang for a buck. It's really just something fun we all do, and it's like one of the biggest bragging rights things out there. Yeah, we can sell some of our HeroClix that we get from it for a lot of money, but in the end, it's not that big a deal. I think I'm, ranted over / rant. Yeah, anything else for me, Dave? Oh.
It actually doesn't matter if you use hot water or cold water. Water has to be 80 degrees Celsius before it starts killing germs. It's the soap that's important.
There you go.
Learned it on the nature of things.
I'm basing that on what I was told by the health department for 10 years of my life. My hand washing was dictated by law for more than a decade of my life. So when I wash my hands for 27 and a half seconds, F the police is going through my head.
I'm sure they said warm water so people would enjoy it more and do it.
I don't know. I've looked the health inspector in their eye, and they kind of looked at the water. I was going like, "You're gonna get a little hotter there, bud." All right. So yeah, aside from that, aside from hand washing, you know what? I'm gonna add something because Pokemon kind of address this. At tournaments, it is customary and actually kind of a requirement in their tournament. I found out to shake hands after a game, and they've taken that rule away. If you're worried about disease spread, a fist bump is actually more healthy and sanitary, and it's the same thing. Like a fist bump is, in my opinion, a fist bump's as good as a handshake, just cleaner.
Oh, the new recommendation is, of course, a Vulcan salute.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Hey, it's peace and long life, man.
Live long and prosper. Get rich. Get rich, get old, as the Vulcans say.
Prosperity means more than just money.
Yeah, but rappers aren't going to sing about it. And they sing about Flair nowadays.
They say the best revenge is living well, but I've never seen an opera about that.
You wait, what?
The best revenge is living well. You've heard that expression?
Yeah, I've heard the expression, but what did you say you haven't seen?
I haven't seen an opera about that.
Oh, yeah, operas are usually about revenge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So are you getting the entire WWE Wave 2 set? Of course, right?
I mean, yeah. Yeah. I'm getting Series 2. There's been a couple figures I've looked at and gone, do I need a second of that one?
I've got a second Eddie Guerrero in the mail at this point.
Yep. Eddie was one I was considering a second one of. What was the other one I was considering a second of? I think it was the mixed match challenge. I was thinking of getting a second of just to have the extra ring in the house, but I don't think I'm going to need it. So, I mean, sorry. Everything on Alexis's team. So I'm going to have to get a second of every single female wrestler now that I think about it. Because my daughter has not relinquished control of them. We have 2 Asukas in the house now because one of them broke, and I was like, I'll get another one. It's fine. Yeah, no problem. I'll use this one that I just repaired with glue. No worries. Awesome. Yay, now I have an Asuka.
Future keyword. I have put Asuka and Nimrod on the same team.
There may be a future for the future keyword.
Booster Gold would be future, wouldn't he?
He should be. I gotta check.
Yeah.
If they didn't give him the future keyword, somebody's should lose their job for that. I'm checking now, just because it seems like the right thing to do. Yes, celebrity and future is generic keywords. Oh yeah. Stripe looked fun. I saw him today. Ace looks like she's going to be a ton of fun. Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to talk about, Dave?
I really liked the trouble alerts because they helped the person who was losing or suffering, at least. And the new Legion of Doom ones seem to be like, well, we're hammering you. Let's just keep going. I suppose that could be good if you're starting behind, but
when you say it out loud, it makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
Because the bad guys, they're gonna kick you when you're down, and the good guys just like, oh, you need a hand, we're here to help. And then all of it starts to make sense. It's like, oh, you're not doing so well. Let me help you out, buddy. Oh, you're doing awesome. I'm on your side. This guy's got it right. I'm going to kick you down. I'm kicking you.
Yes. When someone's down is, in fact, the best time to kick them.
And like once you started saying it out loud, I was like, oh, that design makes so much more sense than just being the opposite. It's like, yeah, they are the opposite in every way, shape, or form about that.
Well, thematically, I'll agree it works, but mechanically, is it?
Tom and me are of the same mind. Is win more really necessary? Do I need to take my I am winning situation and be winning even more now? Like, is that you're going to reward me for winning the game better? Come on, right?
I
Mechanically, it
mean, I guess
works.
if you're down to your last figure, you could roll a crit hit and suddenly, you know, turn the game around. I mean,
I got no problem with it happening that way, sure.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's like I've got all my figures, you've got one left, and I crit hit you,
yeah.
and
And
then I throw an
Medusa
extra action
wasn't good enough
token.
already.
What's that?
Medusa wasn't good enough already.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, shucks. All these attacks and I crit hit. All these attacks and I crit miss. You could. In the situation where it's like, well, that guy crit hit. Awesome. Here's a Grodd. Oh, crap. That guy crit miss. Well, here's a Super. Not Superman's a bad example. Here's a Firestorm. Just
Oh,
right up both ends. So it could go both ways when it comes down to it. It's like, well, I'm having a flip floppy turn. Oh my god, my bystander. If I can get a lot of autonomous bystanders rolling, woo, woo.
well, that's why I mentioned Medusa.
Yeah, Medusa's going to be something else. I mean, Medusa's going to is more likely probably going to bring out more of the Doom or the Legion of Doom guys than the other ones. But at the same time, it's just because when you critically miss, the bystander is no longer there. It can no longer take the free action. That's the part that hurts about that has been the thing that caught me so many times. It's like, yes, I critically missed with my Pog. Oh crap.
Yes, but if you critically hit, you're still there to
The Pog
call
is
in.
still there, yeah. which is why it's that like it's that incremental bit where it's like this is a little better, isn't it? I have made those teams that make like enough attacks to just be, even if I'm missing or hitting them all, like having both of these options in the sideline is kind of scary in the long run.
And fighting Triple H Medusa is pretty. Triple H Steve Rogers Medusa is pretty bad too.
I mean, at those numbers though, that like what's still left? if you had Triple H and Medusa and you hit 3 times and you're calling the Legion of Doom guy, I got good news for you. That guy's team is fat as hell as dial wise. You're gonna be calling one of those per turn, or you're fighting
Yeah,
the
well,
Immortal Hulk.
yeah, or his bloody danger room robots.
Yeah, like that's
All
that's
right, that's all I've got for tonight.
yeah. Oh man, I don't know if we can keep this alive for Mike. We did get a couple of his questions in. I do blame Kenny. All right, I think we'll call it for tonight. Just because I don't want dead air, and I have really got nothing to talk about today. 'Cause I'm such a terrible host. Give him one more check there.
You need to do a wrestling podcast because you have lots of free time, right?
I can barely get Metafix back on the air again. Like I went to one trip to Chicago and everything is thrown off. Like, I would love to do a wrestling podcast one of these decades of my life, but I tried it once, and the problem I found is that there is so much information to discuss on like. So if I was to run, let's say, a weekly wrestling podcast, you know what, we might be saving Mike some time just because of this. If I when I did it with my buddy Dave, who I went to Chicago to meet up, we tried one episode of a podcast. And what we did was we're like, okay, we'll do like a one a week format, but this is also the week of the Royal Rumble. So we're going to cover the Royal Rumble, NXT Takeover for that weekend, and the Raw and SmackDown for that week. And we'll skip over the NXT because that was at the time that NXT was not a full episode. It was just like, here's 2 dark matches that were there live, and here's a recap of everything that happened. That's what NXT was back then. I think it was also an hour-long show. And like just the details you need for like the event alone to recap it properly, the Royal Rumble just took everything out of me because there's so many details. If you want to be like good at that kind of podcast, it's sport commentating is all what you're doing, and you're doing a sports recap, so you got to get
stats. I used to do it details, right? Text.
What's that?
I used to do it just text, not podcast. This was years ago. But yeah, yeah, I know how rough it can be. The Royal Rumble, especially, and WrestleMania. It takes an hour to recap the 4-hour show.
Yeah. So like, and ultimately, like, I would love to be able to sit down once a week and just chat wrestling. And honestly, if I was to do it nowadays, I'd probably completely skip over the WWE. But then, we got like, so through a week, I watch, NWA and AEW. I try to sneak in NXT. And I'll watch like the AEW Dark, as well. I do my best to catch everything that isn't WWE and then catch all the recaps from other podcasts and whatnot. So it's I would love to, but I don't think I'm the guy to cover the WWE, and I would be like the indie guy. And then it's like, am I the wrestler hipster? Is that what I just became, the wrestling hipster guy? And then
tell you what, we'll do an NWA show.
And then I got to deal with. Have you ever seen the comments section on a wrestling podcast? I drink enough of my life already, man. I don't need that kind of drinking. Got a question in the Patron Hangouts. Fortnight Heroclix Yay or nay? Big, massive nay for a number of reasons. One, how did that game come back? It's unacceptable and should be dead. I think one of the big things about Fortnite, though, is that it doesn't have necessarily like its own flavor of characters. Its set of characters is what we play and create as players. We kind of customize our own dudes, as it were. Custom costumes, custom masks, custom hats, etc., etc. So as a result, it's hard to flesh out per se. And what's more, I personally believe that game should have died before it ripped off PUBG, and it should, stay in the dusty grave that it belongs in. So get it out of my HeroClix and leave it dead where it belongs. And yeah.
Oh, one other question. What's got any insights into the next Roll20 night?
We should. I know I tried this. What did I say? Next Thursday? Tuesday?
I thought it was Tuesday. Might be Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. I have some ideas, but it's gonna be another fun thing. Don't worry about building a team or anything like that.
Hello.
Hey, what, Amber? What are you doing here?
I got bored.
You got bored. You get tired of hearing my voice at a distance? So yeah, no, keep your damn Fortnite out of my HeroClix. I was kind of interested if they were gonna do that Team Fortress 2 HeroClix back in the day. That would have been awesome. But that just turned into a chess set.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. NECA made a chip. We have Team Fortress 2 guys coming. Oh, these Dota 2 didn't sell well. Which is weird because, guys, if you know anything about Steam and the marketplace, you could have just cashed in the item for $72 worth of Steam items, which is what I did. I made money on that.
Didn't we buy 2 to do that?
No, we bought 1.
Just the 1?
Just bought the 1. I even undersold it because the item was selling for like $72 in the Steam marketplace, and I sold it for $50. I was like, that's fine. $50 US.
Still made money.
I still made money because I think the kit cost like $25, $30.
Yeah.
Nathaniel wants to know, is the WWE dead? The WWE cannot be murdered. It is an unstoppable zombie that exists in spite of me.
Vince McMahon will never die.
Vince McMahon's never going to die, so WWE can't die, right? He's an undead mortician. He's called The Undertaker.
He throws lightning.
Yeah, and he's got a brother who he lit on fire, apparently.
Well, that brother lit JR on fire.
Every time I talk about things from the 90s in pro wrestling, it's like, I watched that and thought it was awesome. What is wrong with me?
You were a kid in the 90s. That's what were you wrong with you?
Also, I was waiting for Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock to beat each other up later in the show.
Yeah, well, I was watching 12 years later, and I'm probably that much older than you. Maybe not.
I mean, my first introduction to wrestling was Andre the Giant, so I can't say that WWE has no hold on me. Andre was on TV beating up some jobber, and I was like, that guy is huge. That's amazing. Who is he? And then it was unstoppable. My parents wanted me to have nothing to do with wrestling. We apparently turned this into the pro wrestling podcast, so I'm just going to roll with it. They wanted me to have nothing to do with pro wrestling, watching it, wherever. They thought it was too violent. And then my buddy, a friend of mine in school, was having a sleepover birthday party, but it was also the same night as Saturday Night Main Event. So my mom was like, I can't stop it now, because the whole reason he's having this party on this day is to watch wrestling. And as a result, it was unstoppable. And then from there, it got out of hand. And then I turned 22, and I had ducked out. So when I was 22, we're talking, it is 2020 right now, so we subtract, was that? 2004, I popped out. I think it was like in the early days of Ruthless Aggression, I think that would have been.
Yeah, that's
Hey, Mike. 2004 era. What do they call that? Maybe that'll help. History of WWE. Yeah, it was early days, the middle of the Ruthless Aggression. That's when I kind of went. And then it was about 2-3 years ago that I came back.
Yeah.
That is so weird. I joined as you left.
What's that?
I came back to wrestling just as you left. I came back the day after WrestleMania was in Toronto.
Yeah, that was the last one I went to. So, and I would have turned 22 at the end of that year. So, yeah, it would have been just before the Royal Rumble of 2005. I would have ducked out.
Just before we met.
Yeah, and that was when I was working mad hours in the kitchen, so I didn't have time to watch wrestling anyway. Mm-hmm. And then I got into a UFC phase, and then, like I said, about 2 or 3 years ago, I was in a really spot in my last job. I was like, what's going on in the world of wrestling? And it took me, like, I would call myself depressed at the time, and it took me actually out of that. So, thank God for that.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
Hey everyone. No. So all right. Sorry. I have to do this from work. I'm sorry. I don't. Maybe I can do it from this angle. You wouldn't get any advertising in it. Anyway. So thank you for letting me on. Appreciate it. So of course, I have my prepared questions for you. Yeah. All right. So let's go through them quickly. So I know you guys are probably already tired. So let's say, all right. The first question I have, I guess everybody wants to talk about the Justice League set. Can you say quantify or maybe gauge the enthusiasm for this new set coming out?
I mentioned earlier, it's kind of our area is excited. I know Aiden is. I know I am. Amber is. Okay.
I watched the show.
I thought she was. Just wanted to make sure.
More excited for Justice League than I was for Captain America.
There you go. I am excited that there's another HeroClix set. I like new shinies. I'm more excited for the Fantastic Four starter, but that's just going to change the way I play HeroClix for the next. How long is it going to be in Modern? So.
Alrighty. Next question I have. I don't unless we're gonna go somewhere else.
Well, no, you're good. Everybody's
Okay.
kind of dry, so we started talking about wrestling for a while.
Alrighty. So then, is it from? I guess with all the leaks coming out and all the different previews and stuff like that, how what's the potential for a popper format with this set? Can you tell from the thing, or is this going to have to be after a couple of weeks, like before it comes or after it comes out, to determine how the strength of a popper format for this set?
Out of the gates so far, I can say so many people are talking about Amazo. It's almost unavoidable that I think Amazo is going to show up to some degree. To what level, I can't say, but I feel like Amazo will be part of the conversation, if not a big part of the format. Because it's just I can't believe that's a common. That said, was the question? The question's an No, he's a rare. He's an uncommon. No, he's not, Jason. Or is he? It's hard to say. I don't know what he is. So I'm not going to answer on behalf of the question. There's going to be like, at first glance, it seems like there's going to be some stuff that gets played. But it's a little too early for me to just outright call it. I know it won't be played to any degree with Popper, and he's about to become the butt of all of our jokes on the Metal Lab, and it's going to be that common Superman. That poor figure is doomed to just be annihilated by us. And the question is an uncommon. So yeah, the question is going to be something that kind of makes its noise. Just because dice manipulation that, on an uncommon, it doesn't exist in that format, and now it does. Like, it's lower range, it's not as far reaching, but it's the Q of the format. So, and then yeah, anything else I haven't really glanced at in depth. Shazam is a hard maybe. His points are a little high though. I mean, well, he's playable at 45 as well, but differently at 45 than he is. So, I'm gonna say too early to call it, but there is some things that make the eyebrows go. Mm-hmm. Things that make you go,
All right, shout out to CNC Music Factory there for sure. All right, speaking of dice manipulation, then I also had some questions I was thinking about, because around here in my neck of the woods, I'm seeing a lot of Q and all his shenanigans and creating the pogs and everything like that. Would a TK pulse wave be an efficient way to deal with Q, or is that just to have somebody with TK just throw them up right up next to him and all his monkey soldiers and just get rid of them right off the bat, or as best you can. Just do that a couple times.
I mean, TK Pulse Wave is the answer to a lot of figures. if you can solo target a dude, go for it. If you got to take out, if the Monkey Pogs and Q are giving you that much of a problem, yeah, sure. I mean, Pulse Wave is one of those powers where it's like, oh, Pulse Wave's the answer to that, and everything that doesn't have the word stop in its dial. So, long and short of it, yeah. It's one of 1,000. One of 1,000 characters' answers is a TK Pulse Wave. That's been the wave we've been playing since. What character? What was the first character to have like big damage on a Pulse Wave? Was that Cyborg? I want to say Cyborg had like a 3 damage. It's like, okay, so I have now basically Cyborg is now nicknamed Grenade. Because I will TK him at you. Because back then, TK was a hard 10 squares. So I'm going to TK him 10 squares. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to pulse wave that one guy. Oh. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. I'm going to do nothing.
I'm going to die. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm going to take all 3 of this damage. Because pulse wave is messed up as a power. And that's not necessarily bad. Like, it it's okay to have that one power that answers so many things. But subsequently, and I think it was somebody on one of the Facebook groups pointed out, there's been a lot of stop clicks just showing up in places, and that is Pulse Wave's big problem. So if Q isn't packing a stop click, yeah, go for it. It seems a little overkill depending. So do watch how many points you're spending on that particular person who you're going to TK Pulse Wave at him. Because this sounds like it's the 50-point Q from the Confederate Q, I think I like to call him. I don't think he's actually Confederate. He's like a British soldier. But either way, that particular Q I think is 50 points. So don't overcommit if that's what you're trying to do. Watch how many points you're spending on your Pulse Wave.
Okay. Yeah, I guess next question related to that would be is, am I then overhyping or overestimating like its annoyance? Like a lot of people that play it around my area camp him in the background and wait, like don't even move him out of the starting area most of the time like that. And he's been far more of a nuisance like that. And I just can't seem to get, to reach him all the way across the map there for the rounds and stuff like that. Is a War Machine's target lock mechanic a decent way to combat people who camp those in the back row?
War Machine's target lock. I'm just trying to remember. Give me a second. Got to pull up the figure because War Machine, where'd you go? No, you're thinking Puncher War Machine. Minigun target lock. When he hits after resolutions, you may give a hit target a target lock token. Then remove all of the target lock tokens. Free. Make a range attack using War Machine's printed damage and damage values, but only to target the character with. I mean, I don't think target lock's the answer in this case because target lock is somebody you want to shoot twice. And you have to hit in the first place. So they're surviving 4 to 3 damage. 4 to 6 damage. Yeah. And this Q survives a sneeze near him. So what you really want to do is just find a way to deal a damage to him in some way, shape, or form. There's a ring that does knockback nowadays, right? Trying to remember which of the rings it was. That's a good example. Anything that you can if he's going to camp him in the back, knock him back into the back wall. Get a guy who can just find a way to do a damage to him is really the trick. Because he just takes 1 damage and make sure it's not from an attack, and that will piss him off even more because if there's no attack roll, he can't manipulate the dice on it. So if you get him with a poison, or I believe it was Captain Marvel, TK her, hypersonic, go attack something, and by the way, Q, take a damage. That's, I think, another reasonable. I think that's a super rare Captain Marvel. So I'm kind of aiming high as far as target value on figures, but hypersonic, when she uses after resolution, you have 1 penetrating to an opposing character she move through. If that character's vehicle, deal 3. So yeah, there you go. Captain Marvel, deal 1 penetrating damage. That damage is not a dice roll. Not an issue. So I don't even think you necessarily have to make the attack with hypersonic because hypersonic is just a move. So, or the move is part of the hypersonic. The attack is just that extra little bit you throw in there. So you might get 2 birds stoned with 1 joint there, Julian. Yeah. So Q is easier to deal with if you don't actually have to roll the dice. Long story short, if you're playing in Golden Age. Shredders?
I was gonna go for Red Lantern.
Yeah, the little mini shredder that mini shredder that poisons every time it moves up.
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty, so as you're mentioning, this Force Blast, was Force Blast missing from the metagame for I don't know, maybe in the places I've played, it hasn't been too much of an emphasis on it, but was it missing that we had to add the barrel to give it.
I wouldn't say it was missing, but I think WizKids every so often likes to remind us, hey guys, knockback's a good thing. And I'm sitting here like, I know, it saved my life once. I go back to, hey Emily in the chat. Sorry, I'm gonna bring you up here. There was it was the back at Worlds when the grinders was like 8 people per grinder, single elimination. Winner gets in, second place gets half the points to get in. And I was playing against Emily in the second round. She had me so dead to rights. Like, it was pretty ridiculous. Nothing was working for like the first half of our game. Until I managed to kill her Felix Faust. And then it became a Jakeem Thunder off. But I went with the route of using my Jakeem Thunder to knock back Pulse Wave, or gave him Force Blast and Pulse Wave, because the situation I was in, she had me pretty close to dead to rights and pretty close to dead, and I needed to maximize the amount of damage that I could possibly deal with this Jakeem Thunder, while at the same time trying not to die. And it came down to me just choosing Pulse Wave and Knockback, because everything, when you Pulse Wave, they have no powers, which meant even if she had Charge or some way to ignore Knockback, that's going to go through. Now, one of the things to remember about Knockback is Charge ignores it, close combat or combat reflexes ignores it. It is the Knockback is the easiest thing to not have to deal with. And I think that's one of the things that kind of keeps us kind of somber and away from it. It's like, what good is this power, is having the ability to knock back when all they got to have is Charge, or to be taller than me to not have to deal with it. And that's ultimately the case, where it's like, how do I deal with it? Or how do I deal with, how do I use it when these are the things? And having it in the pocket is, I think, pretty reasonable. But using it as the goal is overstretching, if you ask me. Like, I watched this happened. I went to a WKO, and my top 8 opponent had a team that was completely reliant on doing knockback, and I had a team that was completely reliant on colossals. He just looked at my team and said, "Well then, I guess I can try." And yeah, that kind of thing happens when you rely on something like knockback, which all it takes is the smallest little bits to get around it. So I think that's why we lose sight of knockback. But at the same time, you start to realize in the competitive game, what can I use the knockback on, and try to maximize that to the best of your ability.
Alrighty. I'd like to revisit a couple questions here. I know I've asked them before, but since some time has passed and we had new maps introduced, what would you say are the top 3 maps in the meta, or what are people using the most?
Actually, what I find is people... There's a lot of rock maps, and I can't answer the question honestly. Hedge Maze is being used excessively. Underground Cave is still being used a lot. I've had to deal with it. And then...
Was it King's Tomb, or did that one get banned?
Banned? I don't know. I haven't run across... I'm just trying to think what maps I've run across. I've actually... But then again, I've been winning a lot of map rolls too. Like, my last team was a +7.
Stark's
so
Tower.
Yeah, Stark Tower is actually being just used a lot. Not necessarily being actively used, but it's being paid for on a lot of teams. Because especially a non-theme team will just pick the prob pog.
Yeah.
Free pop, like 5-point prob is okay. So. And then it comes down to how many teams am I going to represent, and is Latveria going to become that dumb? That's the future, right? Hey guys, did you know I'm going to be playing Doctor Doom?
It's as obvious as Britt Baker being a dentist.
Britt Baker's a dentist? I didn't know that.
You didn't know?
I don't think everybody gets that joke.
I don't care.
So, specifically, Underground Cavern, Hedge Maze, and Stark Towers, I think, are the top 3 that I've seen. I'm not a good gauge on this anymore, though, and I don't have Tom. Ask on the Metal Lab. Tom will have a better idea than I will.
Okay, I'll consider that. So then I guess we pretty much went through them all. I guess we did a speed run here with this. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this and get in and make an appearance here. Like, I got to keep the streak going. And Lisa, the last question I have here written down is, what are the top 3 title characters? Since we've added a whole number of them since I asked the question last. I think there are probably going to be some going out of rotation. Like at the Joker and Harley is going to be going.
If I was to base it purely on use, Harley Quinn is up there just because of the sideline use of her. The Batgirl was pretty dominant on the Gotham City teams, courtesy of Tom. And then aside from that, I haven't. The Captain America Resilient. Him I've seen. Just because he works in conjunction with the Hulk, along with just being good for Avengers teams. The first time I ran across him, the guy was using the Chase Captain Marvel. And it was the first time I played against it, remembering what it does. The second time I played against that figure was Stan. And I put that character on that 20 defense so fast your head would spin. Whew.
The last 2 sets haven't had title characters, have they?
No, actually, title characters seem to be drifting away from. So Earth X had one. I don't think Rebirth had one. Or if it did, I just don't care.
Yeah, there's the Thor, and there's Wasp, Heart of the Avengers.
Yeah, Wasp would have been in Avengers Infinity, right?
Yeah.
So, Black Panther. Did Black Panther have any title characters? It had Kang the Conqueror. So, we had that in Black Panther. So, it would have been X-Men that had none.
X-Men had none.
And then Captain America had none.
Yeah.
So, they may be drifting away. Or they may just be being selective on it. Who knows? Kang was cool. But then they errated him to not be as infinite combo-y as he was.
Star Trek?
Star Trek had them.
Star Trek had them.
Yeah. I mean, the last set, Boldly Go, had Gold... Defect?
Yeah, there was a Captain Picard
there's a Picard and a Cardassian, and the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
So there's a couple.
But
So
yeah, it's just in the last 2 sets, the X-Men and the Captain America, that didn't happen.
Yeah. I still consider Resistance is Futile and Boldly Go the same set, and I'll ask anybody to fight me on that.
Well, they were supposed to be the same set. Yes, they are the same set.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you can smell that they're originally the same set, and somehow Boldly Go literally got the trash half of the set. It's like, how did we do this, guys? All right. Mike, thank you very much for your long support. Appreciate you being able to be on all of these episodes since the first one. If you want to jump on, be on our Patron Hangout or on a Patron Discord, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Not frequently do you get to see this young lady, but I am a regular face. On this.
It was a Friday night and I got bored.
Oh yeah, that's right. I got to squeeze that in there. It's good. Nice to see you. That's like even different hair this time too.
I was gonna say, I left for 3 months and came back blonde with a tattoo. What did I do? Nobody will know.
See, this is what she does when she's not around on the channel anymore. She just messes around and gets crazy like a college kid on Frosh Week. All right. On that note, again, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being on Patron Mike and Dave, who had to pop out a little early. Guys in Discord, thank you for keeping the conversation alive so that Mike can get out from work and talk to us. In the meantime, everybody, have yourselves a wonderful evening, and peace out.